I had a fantastic get-together, which I took part in for about 30 minutes, and then decided that was enough for me, and I headed back to the hotel and just sat in my bed, really, just thinking about what I'd achieved over the weekend, and yeah, a bit of me time. It was nice. And then yesterday, had a few drinks with the big bear, Ross Brawn, and a few of the members that were still around of the team. Got on a plane and headed back to the UK. So it's quite surreal to be back here. And it's cold as well. Forgotten how cold England was, but yeah, it's great to be back. It really is. And I did actually say I was going to try and bring it home for the UK, and I'm sure every British person does, and that's exactly what I've been able to do. So I'm very happy. I'm not that expensive compared to some drivers. No, for me, the most important thing in my career has always been to be in a great car, in a competitive car. And this year was the first year I've really been in that position. And I want to continue achieving in the sport. And, you know, I'm not one of these drivers that's going to be looking for a new team that can pay me a big amount of money. That's not what I'm about. I want to go and win races again. So I want to be with Brawn. That's just, you know, we just haven't discussed it during the season, which was the right thing to do, so we could just concentrate on getting the titles wrapped up, constructors and the drivers. But now we can sit down and discuss it a bit more. I am going to put a bit of pressure on them for sure, but no, it's you know, I've experienced so much with this team before. Before it was Brawn, it was obviously another manufacturer, and you know, I joined this team in 2003, and a lot has changed since then. We've been through some fantastic times, a lot of very difficult times, and obviously we've just achieved our first goal, which is to be world champions, and we're going to enjoy this moment very, very much. I'm not going to think about next year for a few days, but then we'll start talks about next season. You always want more, and achieving the World Championships it's a great feeling. And as I said, I will enjoy that for many more days. But you know, after that, life goes on, and you want to achieve greater things, and that will be the aim. And that's why I would like to be with Brawn next year. But as I said, we just haven't discussed a contract for next year yet, and that's something we'll do as soon as possible. I mean, there's a lot of variables, really, and that's the way Formula One is. I mean, who would have thought it would have been so difficult for us to win after the first 7 races? But it's the way Formula One is. It's such a competitive sport. And now you have 10 teams that are, you know, they are fighting for wins, and it's the first time we've seen that in Formula One. If I'm in a competitive car and Lewis is in a competitive car next year, I think it'll be a very exciting season for Formula One, and especially the British public. Having 2 world champions back to back, you know, it hasn't happened in 40 years, and I don't know how many other countries have been able to achieve that. So we should be very proud of all the work that has been put into the sport from people all around the country, being the drivers, the mechanics, the engineers, and we've produced some fantastic talent in all those different areas. We should be very happy with ourselves. It's getting more and more difficult, for sure. You know, it's a very, very competitive sport. I'm sure it was in the 70s and the 80s, but now you have, for me, every single driver on the grid deserves to be there. They are very talented. They're not paying their way into the sport. So you have the competitiveness between the drivers, but also the teams. You know, it's amazing how close it's been this season. And 1 second has covered the front to the back of the grid, whereas sort of 10, 15 years ago, that was first to third on the grid. So it's a lot closer, and it's made it a lot more difficult for everyone, as most sports have become so much closer and more competitive, I think, in recent years. So it's going to be difficult, but that's obviously every driver's aim, and that will be my aim next season.